Now, if there's one story that everyone is focusing on in detail this week, it is the one-year anniversary of the Tinubu administration. His assurances, pledges and vows remain uppermost in the minds of many as they assess his performance. Beyond insecurity and the cost of living crisis, with a currency that is falling in value as prices for food, transport and other items continue to skyrocket, there is the perception that political appointments are tilted and that there is a lack of transparency in governance. Then, as Premium Times newspaper put it, there is the improvident spending of billions of naira on things like the purchase of vehicles, the renovation of presidential quarters and the 2024 Hajj. While salaries and pensions are still owed, institutions of higher learning remain grossly underfunded and the majority buckle under the weight of economic hardship. The president's supporters, however, insist that revenues in the treasury have been increasing and the confidence of investors is being restored as a result of Mr. Tinubu's economic diplomacy. But opponents wonder how Nigeria can be borrowing so much, both domestically and internationally, if, as the government claims, there's more money in the coffers. For more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by the lawyer, APC chieftain, and former Nigerian envoy to Togo, Ambassador Olusola EG. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
And you're a big supporter of the president, aren't you?
Oh, definitely so.
And of course, he insisted at the outset that it was his turn to be president. In fact, some would say that he campaigned under the slogan, "It's my turn." What has he done with it after 1 year and after that sweet victory?
Thank you very much. I think Mr. President was very much on focus when he indicated it was his turn. He had assisted presidents to come into office. He had assisted governors. He had mentored a lot of many political office holders, leaders.
Including yourself?
Including myself. So if he's, as the mentor, as the leader, if he thinks that, I mean, why are you not doing it right? Let me come in and fix it. It's about time for me to do so.
Is he fixing it?
He definitely. He is.
How so?
I mean, the problem of Nigeria, you can see is foundational. When the foundation is wrong, when the foundation is rickety, you hardly can build on it. And if you attempt to build on it, it will collapse. That was what was happening to our country, to our economy, even in terms of security, in terms of education, in all spheres, infrastructure-wise. If the foundation is wrong, if it is rickety, the principle is that you can't build something on nothing and expect it to stand. That was why the country was getting to the precipice.
Under an APC government
Not
for the past 9 years.
I don't forget that PDP handled this country for 16 consecutive years.
But you've handled it for 9 years.
Yeah, we are rebuilding. And that was why the mantra was change. We have to move away from that inglorious past. And when we are done with reasonably with change, we're not bringing out renewal. That's what the president is.
Does that inglorious past include the administration of President Buhari?
No. That's what I was saying. I said they spent 16 years of PDP. That led to the ruin of the country. In terms of
so everything economy. That's wrong with Nigeria, we blame it
on the PDP. They started this republic. They started it and they mismanaged it. Right. And so APC came in for the change. And so after to move away from that inglorious past.
So let's assume that you came in for that change. After 9 years, what have you got to show for that change?
About Charles, you can.
Well, I'm asking you a straight.
No, but there are many things that Buhari
what
did
what
before.
are the things?
Oh, he fixed part of the economy. He addressed the issue of insecurity. He addressed corruption to some extent.
But insecurity hasn't changed. It's got worse.
No.
I mean, the evidence is there.
No, you are talking. No, are you talking about the Buhari regime or even now?
I'm talking about both. I'm talking about a continuous APC
Charles, the situation has changed.
Government in power.
Let's be honest. This country was more or less governed by insurgency. You recall that before the APC came on board, there were some parts of this country where insurgents, Boko Haram and all, were hoisting their own flag.
Yeah, but let's be...
in a sovereign territory.
I agree.
That's not the case now.
I agree, but let's be fair and say that a lot of those flags were unhoisted before the APC came into power.
Unhoisted?
Yeah. A lot of those flags, because in the last year before Jonathan left office, he really went hard on insurgents and restored a lot of places, which is what President Buhari then inherited from him.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. That's what I was pointing out, that Buhari came in and addressed it to such an extent that Boko Haram was almost decimated.
Anyway, look, I don't want to get into a sort of back and forth about what happened. Let's look at things, for example, on a micro level. Your state, Ondo, in fact, your local government, Eshe Odo, have they felt, first of all, the APC's being in power for the last 9 years, and in particular, Mr. Tinubu's governance there in the last year? How so, if so?
Yeah, it is beginning to manifest. Let me say that for almost about 12 years, we didn't have electricity. That has been switched on now. And it's part of the dividends of the current administration.
I mean, are you saying that lights were fitted in, or that there's actually electricity? Because
there's actually electricity
because
now.
There's a difference between somebody putting in lampposts and then you switch on the lamppost and light actually comes on.
No. Electricity has been restored now to not only to SLD, but the neighboring local governments of Okitipupa, Ilaje, Odigbo, and SLD.
Yeah, but where's the light coming from?
Oh, there's...
Because, I mean, this country is only generating around 5,000 or less than 5,000 megawatts for over 200 million people.
Yes,
and that's not enough.
Yeah, you asked about my local government.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that government has restored light.
Well, that's why I'm asking you, where is the light coming from?
No, there is a small station, distribution station that was put there by a combined effort of both the federal government, the NDDC, and the state. And it has been switched on now. That's very recent.
Well, that's just one thing. I mean, you have had quite a long, illustrious career. I mean, you've been so many things. I was looking at your CV. I mean, it's very impressive. And at one point, you were the Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress, or TUC, I think between 1985 and 1992. Do you think your comrades in the TUC would agree with your assessment of where this country is and how things are progressing?
Dude, things are progressing.
No, I'm asking you, do you think they would agree with you?
No, they...
I mean, we tend to think of them as representing the people and standing with the people and the workers. Would they agree with you?
Within the labor movement, as comrades, you may have different perspectives.
Well, I'm talking about their collective perspective.
Yes.
The TUC comes out and speaks as one about things.
Yes.
Would they agree with your assessment of where things are in Nigeria and how things have progressed
I'm sure that they will agree with me to a very significant extent.
Well, how would they? I mean, don't you see them in public and the things, their assessment of where this country is and where things are going?
Yeah, we all agree that things are the way they are now, but they need to be fixed.
Yeah, but everybody knows.
And that's what they're agitating for.
Everybody knows.
And that's what we're all asking for.
We all know it needs to be fixed. The question is, you've been in power for 9 years.
Yes.
What have you fixed?
No, now today, it may not be okay, it may not be sufficient, it may not be so significant when you relate it to the current economic and inflationary trends. But the minimum wage, what's on the table now, is about 100% increase over what you had. I know it may not be enough. And that is why our comrades are still agitating, for more, so that at least whatever the minimum wage will be should be enough to carry them home.
Right. So you're saying, I'm not sure I understand what you're saying, because there's a big tussle between the unions and the federal government over the minimum wage level. I mean, the unions have calculated the minimum wage based on the conditions in the country at the moment. And if you assess where things are, to give anybody a decent living in this country, you would consider their assessment to be reasonable.
Yes.
So what are you saying? Are you saying is the federal government approximating what they're asking for?
No, they must be approximating it. But what I'm saying is, we have started from somewhere. The current minimum wage is 30,000 naira. Mm-hmm. They have gotten an increase of about 100%. That is not according to...
It's under 100%, but yeah, it's close to 100%.
Very well. So they are saying that's not enough. And the negotiation has not been concluded. In a negotiation, you move from one point to the other, and then you come to a bargaining point where both parties agree that in this contest, we have a fair deal.
Right.
They have not gotten to that place. So you should allow them to conclude the negotiation. They are doing a beautiful job, and government too is responding. Don't forget, you move from 30,000 to... It's not that the federal government cannot afford to pay 100,000. But when you are setting minimum wage, you are taking even the least capable of those employers who may not have the same capacity to pay. You want to carry them along because it will become law once we say it's...
I understand what you mean.
And so they are bound by...
Yes, you certainly have a point there. But the argument of the unions, and I'm sure you're privy to that argument because you were once a Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress. Their argument is that there would not have been the need for them to ask for such a dramatic increase in salaries, because that potentially adds to inflation. I mean, they're doing their analysis and they're doing a very good job of it. That it'll add to inflation, that if the government had done the things that it was supposed to do with public transport, with agriculture, with things like that, that inflation would not be so high. You wouldn't have the problem of, the fuel crisis and, if there was enough petrol and the refineries were working and all the rest of it. So there is a dramatic failure of governance. And none of those refineries has come up to speed in the last 9 years. And we keep being told they're going to come up to speed. We keep being told the government, the APC government, is investing enormous amounts of money in agriculture. They even closed the borders at one point to try and, let things be more sort of give the homegrown lot a chance. And none of that appears to be working. So what is the point that you're making? I don't understand. Where is the renewed hope coming from?
Just, you look at the economy. There are changes happening. We can't deceive ourselves. If you look at the liberalization of the forex system, the thing is changing.
Yeah, but it's not improving the lives of people, is it? I mean, that's the yardstick.
I've told you earlier that these are foundational problems.
But you can admit, even if, as you say, they're foundational problems that will take a while to manifest.
Yes.
It's
already manifested.
No, you can admit that after 1 year,
yes,
the lives of people in Nigeria has not improved. It hasn't got better from what it was a year ago. Is that a fair assessment?
It is getting better.
Well, on what basis?
Better. Before now, we hardly have fuel on regular supply. Now we have it in abundance.
Well, I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, there were queues all over the place.
Yeah, but for how long?
Yeah, it doesn't matter how long. There shouldn't be queues at all.
There shouldn't be. That's where we are going.
Right, okay.
That's where we are heading.
Let's talk about Ondo State.
Yes.
Let's turn to the politics there, because that's where you're from. One of the governorship aspirants there, Senator Jimo Ibrahim, he was sitting in that chair that you're sitting in just about a week ago, described the APC primary in Ondo State as mega fraud and filed a suit asking the courts to annul the process. But now he's withdrawn that lawsuit. How has it come to that?
Well, let me thank you for that question.
I expect that makes you happy.
Yes, quite. All of us in the party will be happy that we are putting our house in order, because we have an election to contest and to win. So if the distinguished senator miscalculated by describing that primaries as a mega fraud, he must have seen reason, now to.
You sound like
because
a politician.
Pardon?
Well, you are a politician. I said you sound like a politician.
But
then I guess you are a politician.
What I'm trying to say is that from the onset, we had primaries. Some aspirants were not happy with it, with the outcome. Others accepted it. All of us knew that the party conducted the primaries, and the elections were won and lost. The senator felt seriously aggrieved, tried to make use of the internal machinery to ventilate his grievance. Unfortunately, he was not satisfied, and so he went to court. But he must have realized now that it was not the most appropriate decision.
Well, that's not what he said. According to him, he withdrew the suit because President Tinubu intervened and gave him assurances that internal democracy within the APC would be improved.
Yeah, that's yet, the president, like the father of all, who intervened in ensuring that the house stays in order, and that there is unity, there is amity among members and the structures, within the structures of the party. I'm not privy to it. I take it on the face of what he has said, that it is because of the president's intervention. But the truth of the matter is that if you look at the matter in court, that was the most appropriate thing for him to have done.
Well, I mean, if Senator Ibrahim, and as I said, he sat in this seat and he made those allegations very, very forcefully. If he was
it could be forcefully, but it could be very, very
the point is that
wrong allegations.
He was claiming fraud. and saying that there was no voting in his senatorial
couldn't say
district.
so.
Well, can I make the point?
Okay.
He said that.
Yeah, it would be wrong.
You
to
might
have said
dispute it.
Yeah,
That's what he said.
He definitely was wrong.
He said there was no voting in his senatorial district and in a large part of Ondo State. Yeah. How is that going to be resolved politically? That point that he made. What kind of settlement could there be when one person is alleging that he's been cheated? And he's saying in public and, over and over again that the process, he described it as mega fraud. How is he, what kind of settlement could there possibly be in the APC?
Charles, I'm trying to...
I understand
to be very modest. What the senator had done is to bend over backwards, to withdraw and allow the party, to progress,
In other words, by allowing something fraudulent to remain.
He made an allegation. This is an allegation that cannot be substantiated. And that's the truth. And you can't rise above your party. The party conducted congresses. The National Working Committee set up a committee to go and conduct the congress, the primaries. And they came back. They declared result. They returned somebody as the winner. You complain. You are not the only one who complained. And the party had set up a committee to take appeals from those aggrieved. And the committee went into it, they looked at it, they passed their verdict that the committee had rightfully conducted the primaries and that it was substantially in compliance with the guidelines of the party. Others who had joined you to petition, they are not in court. So what does that signify? That you are the only one making an allegation and we are making it publicly. So just what I'm saying is that it cannot, because it describes it as a mega fraud. What do you understand by mega fraud? As a lawyer, you have to define what fraud is before you graduate to the level of describing it as a mega fraud.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you very much indeed. Ambassador Olusola E.G., it's really nice talking to you.
Thank you.
You're a very measured analyst, and we appreciate your coming in to share your thoughts with us. He is, of course, a lawyer, an APC chieftain, and former Nigerian envoy to Togo. And he also, at one point, had an ambition to be senator representing the same district in Ondo State that Jimo Ibrahim won, and you didn't win. But that's one of those things, isn't it?
It is.
There's always a next time.
Because you don't win, it's not a foreclosure that you can't win tomorrow.
I agree with you, 100%.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you.